Interesting facts about famous people.
The 10 best gunslinger movies of all time, ranked by IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. Tombstone, 1993. IMDb, 7.8. Rotten Tomatoes audience score, 94%. This classic of modern westerns was a veritable shoo-in on any ranked gunslinger list. The gunplay is fast and fierce between Tombstone's characters, Wyatt Earp, played by Kurt Russell, his band of brothers including Virgil, Sam Elliott, and Morgan, Bill Paxton, and the Cowboys led by Curly Bill, Powers Booth, loosely based on history's gunfight at the OK Corral. Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday faces down feared gunman Johnny Ringo, played by Michael Biehn. Few gunslingers' conversations are complete without someone citing at least one of Holliday's many quotes. Desperado, 1995. IMDb, 7.1. Rotten Tomatoes, 79%. Desperado tells the story of El Mariachi, Antonio Banderas, who seeks revenge on a drug lord who killed his former love. The drug lord, Bucho, turns out to be El Mariachi's older brother, Cesar. The movie showcases a constant barrage of blood and blazing bullets, utilizing a number of Hollywood's finest Latin actors, including Selma Hayek, Danny Trejo, and Cheech Marin, including support from Steve Buscemi and Quentin Tarantino. Desperado's homage to B cinema, revenge porn, is obvious, but the gunfighting choreography is a sight to behold. Dirty Harry, 1971. IMDb, 7.7. Rotten Tomatoes, 90%. I know, it's not technically a Western genre movie. A gunslinger ranking list from any legitimate poll would be remiss without at least one or two entries from the likes of Clint Eastwood. In his first outing as Inspector Harry Callahan, he manages to supersede all but two of his other films. Dirty Harry is of course a true classic, rendering one of his most famous take-no-prisoners cops of movie history and giving Clint Eastwood what would become one of his most identifiable roles. It's surprising this first film in the series managed to trump Eastwood's staples like The Outlaw Josie Wales or High Plains Drifter, but then again, it was Dirty Harry that gave fans his most iconic line. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969. IMDb, 8. Rotten Tomatoes, 92%. There are few films that portray the epic talents of Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Few do it as well and symbolically as this buddy western caper, telling the tales of two train robbers who flee to Bolivia to escape a US Marshal posse. The quips and rapport between Newman and Redford hold the movie's rightful place in such high regard. The American Film Institute ranked it as the 7th greatest Western of all time. Its ending, commonly cited when considering Last Stands, is one of the best ever conceived. Unforgiven, 1992. IMDb, 8.2. Rotten Tomatoes, 93%. This film finally gave Clint Eastwood his long-awaited Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director. Eastwood's films are often seen in hindsight as testaments to American masculinity. It's the cinematic craft and storytelling which carry the film to epic gunslinger status. Eastwood's William Money, having retired to a farming life, takes on one last job as a former outlaw, also starring Gene Hackman, Richard Harris, and Morgan Freeman. This entry in a long line of revenge revisionist westerns on Eastwood's resume shines a character study spotlight on the gunslingers themselves rather than the gunslinging. The Hateful Eight, 2015. IMDb, 7.8. Rotten Tomatoes, 77%. Quentin Tarantino's second foray into revenge westerns was, of course, a dialogue-driven rendering of standard genre structures, including ambition, betrayal, and the ubiquitous down-to-the-last man format, with outstanding performances by Kurt Russell, Samuel L. Jackson, Walton Goggins, Bruce Dern, Demian Bichir, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. This group of wayward travellers caught in a storm at a remote stagecoach stop was as riveting as it was bloody. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. IMDb 8.5. Rotten Tomatoes 95%. This list, without a Sergio Leone spaghetti western, would be a poor list indeed. This one has two of them. Leone's go-to gunslinger Eastwood passed on this one, figuring he was risking typecasting after doing the Man with No Name trilogy with the legendary director. Instead, the starring role was taken up by Charles Bronson, his character, Harmonica, squaring off against a rare, villainous Henry Fonda as Frank. As per usual, with Leone projects, style and tone provide substance over action or even character, as the movie starts off with a near dialogue-less train station sequence and proceeds to tell much of the movie with sounds and cinematography over script. A true masterpiece. Hostiles, 2017. IMDb 7.2. Rotten Tomatoes 75%. An interesting entry in these IMDb ranks, a relatively newer offering, not commonly cited as one of cinema's greatest westerns. Still, the story of two longtime enemies in the Indigenous American Wars who are forced to meet with each other one last time is always a compelling one. Captain Joseph Blocker, played by Christian Bale, is ordered to transport his old, cancer-stricken enemy, a Cheyenne war chief named Yellow Eagle, to his original lands in Montana. Blood and betrayal ensue. Blocker and Yellow Eagle finally make peace with one another after acknowledging the brutalities they've mutually shared. Another cautionary tale of vengeance parables. Django Unchained, 2012. IMDb 8.4. Rotten Tomatoes 92%. Quentin Tarantino is all about trademark revisionism in his fictions. Django certainly qualifies as one of the most prominent. His most generous liberties are taken, except perhaps for the ending of Inglourious Basterds. The brutal depiction of slavery conditions are tough to take in, and were controversial to many persons of colour, including Spike Lee, as the rendered treatment of slaves used as a story hook, coupled with use of racist language, seems overtly cavalier for such a raw topic. The gunfighting on display was portrayed in typical Tarantino style, with Jamie Foxx's Django unleashing a furious and bloodied vengeance on his former oppressors. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. 1966. IMDb 8.8. Rotten Tomatoes 97%. Very few lists of this caliber would be considered legitimate if Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood's most famous collaboration wasn't at the very top of it. This final entry in the Man with No Name trilogy is universally lauded as the greatest gunfighter western in the history of movie westerns. Not only is Eastwood in top form, but he's also assisted by two of cinema's best black hat foils, in the characters of Eli Wallach's Tuco and Lee Van Cleef's Angel Eyes. There is no finer gunslinger moment ever filmed than the three-way standoff duel at the film's climax, utilizing once again Leone's genius, use of sound and cinematic tension. Thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate likes, shares and subscribers. Don't forget to hit the notification button to get my new videos. Drop me your comments. Bye for now. See you again soon.